Good morning, good evening, and good day. Thank you so much for watching Attack Bauer Gaming. Today, we are going to go over the 5 best starter decks for the Allied faction. If you enjoy this content, please consider dropping a like and subscribing to the channel for more Steel Division 2 content. Now, before we dive right in, I just want to give a quick disclaimer. First off, this is my opinion, and secondly, these are not the best 5 Allied decks. These are what I would consider the divisions that don't have any severe weaknesses. These are great for starting players, and they won't find that they're lacking anything or need any special strategies in order to make the division work. They're just overall really balanced, solid divisions. Remember, every division has some sort of weakness, but these have slightly less glaring ones than many others. Now that we got that out of the way, let's dive right in. I'm going to start with a standard here. This is considered one of the stronger decks in the game, and this is the 44th Strelke. This is a great deck. It has very few weaknesses overall, and you can play this very well and win a lot. You can play this at higher levels. You see a lot of top-tier players play this deck when they really want to win. This is a great deck with very few weaknesses. You have a really strong, really solid, recon tab with lots of snipers. Snipers are great. You have a great infantry tab. Nothing special in it, but just good options all around. You get the Saparies, Tanko Thessalonikis, Gavardia DPs. It's just a solid infantry tab. Nothing special about it, but it gets the job done, and it gets it done consistently. Really solid tank tab. You get T-3476s, a card of those, and you get a whole bunch of T-3485s, which, depending on who you talk to, some people hate these, some think they're terrible. I actually think they perform pretty well overall. I think they beat most Axis armor for the most part. Like, if you throw this up against a Panzer IV, it's going to win pretty consistently, depending on this, of course, not really considering outside factors. Usual supports. You get the good little extra range mini mortars here. You get Ogden Machiki. The real weakness of this deck would be the AT tab. You don't really get any heavier AT like I'd love to see some Zis 2s in here. So you're kind of forced to use just these Zis 3s, which can be a little weak. So the AT tab is the only, I would say, weakness of the deck, even though it's not completely lacking. It just doesn't have anything really strong. Really solid AT, both 37 mils and 85s, really good. You get some of the best off-map in the game. Sorry about that, uploading another video. You get some of the best off-map in the game with these 152 mils. And a spattering of other mortars and light artillery. The artillery is not great otherwise, but these more than make up for it with how strong those are. And then a really strong air tab with these TUs, which are really, really strong. They're very hard to kill, and they move really fast for bombers. They're stupidly good. So this is a great starter deck, and you can play this a long time. This can be used even as you improve. It's a really good deck overall. Our next deck here is the 97th Strelke, another original deck. This one is definitely, I don't think, rated as high in terms of power level, so that you're not going to see this one as often. I don't think it has the raw power level that, say, the 44th has, and you definitely don't see higher players using this as much, but it's definitely a very viable option. It's got a solid recon tab with T-34s and snipers. You get a great infantry tab with specifically the bonus here being the Strafniki, which are these huge 20-man squads. They're very strong. Great unit there. You have an okay tank tab. It's not amazing. You're limited. IS-2s used to be awesome. This deck used to be one of the best. It's not anymore because IS-2s were seriously nerfed. But you still get T-3045s. Like I said, I enjoy those. The IS-1 can be really effective. It's got a lot of armor. It can do work. And you get a nice little card of T-3476, so you're certainly not lacking. Support tab is okay. It's the usual. You get 2 Ogden Menshiki cards, though. That's interesting. And you do get the short-range mortar, so good overall. Really solid AT tab. You get Zis 2s, Zis 3s, M42s, SU-85s. This is a really solid AT tab. You get a lot of options. Good AA. You get your 37 mils and 85s. It's got the other best off-map in the game with this 132 millimeter rocket thing. This is ridiculous. As 512. This will literally turn an entire area black. You only get one usage. It only has one charge, but it is hilarious to see how much damage this thing can do. It will just erase a section of the map for about 1 minute. It's kind of ridiculous. And the air tab's okay. It's not fantastic, but these P-39s are really strong with their 37 mils. So you have something to do. It a little light on fighters. That would be its most significant weakness. Definitely is that the fighter lack in the air tab. Let's continue on. The next one is actually one of the new divisions from the Italian DLC, and that's the 8th Indian Infantry. Now, I think this deck is just really balanced. Like I said, this is not based on necessarily power level. Like, it's going to win every game, but I just think this deck really is not lacking in any significant way. You got a great recon tab, okay, here at the top. You get snipers, you get some Hummers, and this neat little 75 self-propelled gun. It's a great recon tab. You get a really solid infantry tab. Indian rifles are just better than normal rifles. They're just better. That's it. Like, there's nothing else more to say about it. They're just bigger, and they're 2-man more and they cost the same. And they get Thompsons. Like, they're just all around better than regular rifle squads. And then these Gurkha rifles are really good too. You get 3 Thompsons, 2. It's just a really powerful squad. So your infantry tab, I think, is really strong. You get Shermans. Shermans are great. There's nothing wrong with Shermans. No, you're not beating heavy armor from a distance, but these guys do really good work. Supply tabs, not supply, I keep saying that. Support tabs a little lacking. Not much to do in it, but you do get these short range mortars, which can be useful. Like I said, these are not as good, though. They only have 540 meters of range instead of the 800 meter range, so just be aware. AT tab, really good. You get your usual 6-pounders, 17-pounders. They get the job done. AA, really solid. Lots of 40 mils. Beaufords, you can take a Crusader AA if you want, which is like a 20 mil. Solid. Artillery tab, nothing special, but nothing bad either. And you get British airplanes, which tend to be really, really good in this game. So really balanced division, not really seriously lacking in much. I would say basically just long range stopping power. You get your 17 pounders, but that's the only thing that can really reach out and kill things. So just be aware, little lacking in that respect, but otherwise really strong division overall. Our next one here is the second New Zealand, and this one is pretty high in the power rating. You're going to see this at pretty high in most people's tier lists. This has very few weaknesses. Again, it's another British-esque division. You get a good recon tab with lots of staghounds and some snipers and such. I think that's snipers, right? Yep, snipers and such. So good selection there. Infantry are really strong. These Oplites are 12-man squads with 2 machine guns and only 25 points, so their cost to damage ratio is really high. You get these Maoris, which are unfanatical, so they can't surrender. They've got a really strong loadout of weapons. These little flame dudes are pretty cool too. So just a really unique infantry tab, and they're strong infantry overall, pretty aggressively costed. Shermans, again, you'll find most tabs with all Shermans can be really solid choices. You get a good support tab, lots of options here. This is the smaller mortar again. Good British AT tab, 6-pounders, 17-pounders. You get Wolverines in this case as well, which I'm not a huge fan of. I'm not a huge fan of tank AT. For me, it tends to underperform with certain exceptions. Martyrs tend to do really well. The Jagdpanzers, Jagdpanthers, Jagdpanzer 4s, those tend to, and the Hellcats and things like that, those tend to perform well. But other things like Wolverines, I never seem to find a lot of success with them personally. Beaufords, what's more to say? Beaufords are good. RD tab's okay. You get some good off-map 140 mil. Otherwise, it's a little lacking. That would be probably its biggest weakness. And then you have a really strong air tab with your British Spitfires and things like that. So really balanced division overall. Solid, always a good choice. Finally, we're going to round this out with the second Indian Head Infantry Division. So this is the American division. It's been out a while. It was really strong at one point. It's been nerfed a little bit, but I still think it's a pretty solid deck overall. It doesn't have any. The severe weakness of this deck is that it generally lacks infantry AT. So if you look in their infantry tab, almost nothing has AT except this demolition group here at the end. They're the only things with AT. Now the AT is a bazooka, which is really strong. That's much better than say a Panzerfaust because it's got way more range, but most of it doesn't. So you're going to definitely be really lacking in it. You're going to be really depending on your Ranger Marauders here with bazookas and your actual bazookas. So just be aware it's a lacking in infantry AT, and people know it. So they'll know to get up close and personal to your infantry to take them out. But otherwise, the deck is pretty well rounded. It wants for very little. You got great M8s, the Ranger Marauders. Infantry are really strong because they have all semi-automatic rifles and BARs and stuff. So it's just really strong infantry across the board. You get tanks, Shermans, and then you also get Rhinos, which are up armored Shermans. That's the only difference. They have more armor, but that's a big difference. They're very hard to kill. They're very annoying. You get great 105mm howitzers, your usual flamethrower crocodiles, which can be solid, especially with the flame buff recently. AT tab's really strong. You get your 57 mils. You get M1A1 destroyers. Hellcats are very good. These are really good. I'm not a huge fan of the destroyers, but they're definitely better than Wolverines. So really good. Overall, you get the 76mm gun, which can be really good too. So great AT tab, solid AA. It's not big, but you get Beaufords, and that's really all you need at the end of the day. A lot of Beaufords. RD tab is really, really strong. You get these 155mm long toms. You get great off map. You get rocket artillery. You get these radio mortars, which are crazy good. Super good overall. And you get really strong planes down here with your P-47s. These are excellent. If you head on planes, these will always win. They're just so good. So just be aware of that. Head-oning these is a bad idea. You get really big bombs. These P-38s drop big booms across the board. So it's just a really balanced division overall. Again, with its weaknesses, of course, but really strong overall. So those are 5 allied divisions that are great for beginners, super balanced, have very few obvious weaknesses, and you don't require you to play any significantly special strategy to play well. You can just play them and lean on their solid stats and units to win your games. I hope you enjoyed this content. Please consider dropping a like and subscribing for more Steel Division 2 content. Have an awesome day.